You leave out the front door. Just make sure you lock the.
Hey.
Hey, Monique.
Hi, Anna. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Portland Cocktail Week Distance Learning. Today, capturing the season. I'm really excited. I finally get to meet the fabulous Anna Lazaridis. I am so happy. This is sponsored by Appleton Estate Jamaican Rum. Tis the season. Anna hails from South Carolina, as many of you already know. And she is going to take us through some really interesting stuff today. Anna, I'm happy to be here with you today. I've heard so much about you. I follow you on Instagram. I mean, you're doing your thing. And I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be your host today.
Well, thank you so much, Monique. I'm really stoked to be here. Big thanks to you and the fine people at Campari Community for having me, and also the wonderful people at Lush Life and Portland Cocktail Week. I'm here to talk about some delicious syrups and shrubs, and just some little tips and little tricks that I learned along the way working with them in my program here in Charleston.
So what's it like in Charleston in the season that what's the produce that really shines in Charleston? Because I've never been to South Carolina.
So we have ideally everybody has 4 seasons. We stick to about 2 just because it's so hot here. We'll have about maybe 3 weeks of spring. That's about all we'll get. And that's when we start getting some of our, my most favorite produce coming out. You got your strawberries, you have peaches, apricots, all the great stone fruit. Literally just all the harbingers of this season. Summertime's here, the tomatoes are going through. But unfortunately with that, it gets too hot here. And a lot of those crops actually burn out by the time July and August, when you're really kind of hitting that summer stride. So these are just some ways that myself and my team uses to make sure that we can enjoy these throughout the season, and then a little bit later on, because honestly, our winter doesn't start here until about January is when it starts getting cold here. So we're enjoying more of the fruity tropical stuff pretty much straight up until it's pumpkin spice and hot toddy season.
Yeah. So in terms of the theme of your cocktail menus, pretty much what's the general thing that you want to see your consumers like to see at your bar?
I think for us, we really just want to celebrate all the great produce that we have, try to keep it as seasonal as possible. We do a lot of great work with rum. I'm sure we're going to get to that. But we also love to play with our fruit, put it in places where you wouldn't expect it to go. We do some really awesome Scotch-style tiki cocktails. We do a lot of fruited with bourbon. We also have a really awesome frozen cocktail program as well that we use a lot of our syrups and shrubs in during the summertime. So that was a great application for it as well. Also, people come into a bar and maybe they're not drinking at the time. And shrubs and syrups are a great way to personalize a mocktail for somebody's palate, whatever they would like to get. And also a great way to share the season with them as well.
Lovely. I mean, it just sounds yummy. And I want to see what you're going to take us through today, because it sounds like you've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. And I'm new to this shrubs world. I'm, new to mixology and everything as well. So as a brand ambassador, I want to know what I can do to kind of not enhance, but add to the flavors of Appleton Estate. So you take it away and take me down the rabbit hole, because I'm really interested to see what we're going to come up with today.
Yeah, so of course, the first and foremost that we want to focus on is your fruit, your produce. That's going to be the star, and that's why the whole reason that we're doing this. Your fruit, it's got to be ripe. I like my produce to be almost to the edge where it's ripe and a touch overripe. That way, if you're trying to work with underripe produce, you're going to be working yourself to death for a syrup or a shrub that doesn't have any of the flavor that you're really looking for, and it's not going to have a great color to it, just because you're not able to extract all the sugars that you want if, say, like the produce is fresh. What we do, we usually set up a set produce schedule. We're getting produce in Mondays and Thursdays. That way, if a fruit that we're getting in isn't ripe enough, we have days to let the fruit get to where we need it to be. So ideally what we're doing, we're ordering our fruit for the weekend on Monday. And then the fruit that we order on Thursday is to get us through the week until we go into the weekend. So that way the fruit, pineapples especially, I feel like I've gone blue in the face. There's no way I can ever ask the produce guy politely enough over and over, please just send me ripe pineapples. They'll send us underripe, that's fine. We'll let it sit in the liquor room for about 3 days, get the fruit to where we need it to be.
Yeah.
Once we have our nice, fresh, ripe produce, it's ready to go. That's where the beauty comes into. Now we're going to be moving into our maceration process. And this is where I start off for both my syrups and my shrubs. Maceration for me is really important because you're helping get out all the goodness of the fruit with just a little bit of sugar. Like that's the magic right there. I don't really have a set recipe for my syrups when I start, but my good guideline is per pint of fruit, I do about 2/3 cup of sugar. You're going to want to like get it a good coating. I do enough sugar on there where when I toss the fruit, it should have like an equal coating all over it, and then a little bit left in the bottom of the bowl as well. And I think, Leo, I sent you a couple pictures of my strawberry and my banana macerations if you want to. Yeah, that's the strawberry right there. That's actually after about only 10 minutes of being macerated. You can see all the syrup and the liquid already being produced right there in the bowl. So we're going to get a great yield off of that. We also have our banana one as well, that I think we're going to see a lot more of that. This was a great recipe for me. We did it in a frozen cocktail. I actually smoked a half of these bananas in our smoker, studded it with cloves. So when they came out of the smoker, they're already releasing some beautiful syrup already. And that syrup actually got caramelized in the smoker. And I put that in with a little bit of unsmoked bananas and toss it with just a couple like cups of sugar. And you can already see just from there, it's already starting to work.
So in this, we've got sugar. And take me into this again, because this is really interesting to me to see this process, because what I want to know is there like an area of an area of error that you can like get this wrong?
I think honestly for me, as soon as you have your fruit to where you need it to be, the fruit's going to do all the work for you. You're just adding the sugar there just to help leach everything out. The only error you can do on your part is not using ripe enough fruit. Also, you can also do too much sugar when you're doing your maceration. When you take it to cook, so what we're going to do, we're going to strain the fruit off. And I think, Leo, I sent you, yeah. So that's what you're going to have. You're going to have your fruit off and then your syrup going into the pot. Sometimes I will continue cooking the fruit in with the syrup. It depends. With the bananas, they tend to break apart. So I'll actually hit them with a burr mixer before I go to stovetop, and that'll help cook them and caramelize them a little bit more. Right. And at that point, you can actually see. You might want to have to add a little bit of water because the sugar's just eating it up too much. And you'll just want a little bit of water just to cut it through because you want it to stay syrupy and not turn into a jam. Yeah. There's no problem with it turning into a jam, but syrups are your preferred outcome.
Consistency. Okay. And so from here now, like once you finish this process, what comes next?
After that, depending, I will either strain it off or even hit it with a burr mixer again. Yeah, that's another beautiful, that's like my shrub right there, right before we took it to cook. Yeah, so that's even before I cooked it. And you can see how much yield I'm going to get off that from the liquid already in the bowl. So if I want even more, if the if the strawberries are still retaining like their consistency, I will actually hit them with a burr mixer again, cook them, and then I'll do a double strain, and that'll be my finished product right there. Always comes out beautiful, just like a little bit of legs to it. You'll see a nice coating. And honestly, the whole process, if your fruit is ripe, will take you under an hour to complete from start to finish. And that's the beauty of having like your fruit ready for you to work with it.
I imagine this to be such a long process, and you just simplified it for me. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's ways you can get more in depth to it, but honestly, this has always yielded such beautiful results for me, from color to even like time maintenance. It's easy. It's set it and forget it, honestly.
Right. So, everybody that's out there right now, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in and ask Anna questions. I'm sure some of us want to know a little bit more in-depth knowledge, and definitely, Anna, at this point, I'm going to, continue to let you go with what you have up. But, I think so far, especially for someone who's new, you've pretty made this pretty simple for us.
I did. I mean, again, I also, the year that we're having, I feel like a lot more people are trying their hand at bartending at home as opposed to going to the bars. And this is such an easy recipe. Like I said, there's no real ratio or recipe to follow. You're literally just listening to the fruit and just follow the little guideline. 1 pint of fruit to 2/3 cup of sugar. For me, it's worked every time. And like I said, you can add a little bit more sugar at the end. Just adding just a little bit of simple syrup if you feel like you haven't gotten enough sugar in there, or even just let it sit and cook and just add a little bit more sugar. And you can always add more water if you feel like, oh, this has gone the wrong way. Like,
right.
Oh, no.
But what are some fruits that you would say stay away from? Because obviously not every fruit you want to like really take it down that road. So what would I stay away from?
Well, I'm really glad that you asked that. There hasn't really been any fruit that I steered away from. I have 2 different methods when I make my syrups. I have the one, which is the maceration process that I showed you, and then another one that I kind of refer to as steeping. This one I use more. I use it for pineapples. I use it for my raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, anything that you can't really cut and macerate. So what I'll do, I'll use that same math, that 1 pint of fruit to 2/3 cup of sugar. But instead of doing just with raw sugar with that, I consider it as like a 2/3 cup of simple syrup. So what I'll do, I'll figure out how much fruit I have, make that amount of simple syrup, bring it up to a boil, and then I'll add in my fruit to that. And then, if you have a potato masher, that works great. I just gently kind of, over the course of like 30 minutes while it's steeping and simmering, just kind of lightly mash the fruit. That's how I made my raspberry syrups for a couple of my bourbon cocktails for this week, for this summer. It was fantastic. The color was gorgeous. And the flavor, you wouldn't think just from simply mashing it would really incorporate into the syrup that much. But man, it knocked my socks off. And all these are being cooked. So they're going to actually be self-stabilized as long as you keep it refrigerated. We kept that raspberry syrup, that one batch, going for about a month and a half, honestly. You're going to have a little bit of separation with the color, but just a quick whisk will emulsify it back up. And the flavor, oh man, it didn't dim out at all. It was probably one of my more stunning works.
Well, our community has some other questions for you, and I think definitely they're looking forward to your expertise. So one of the questions we have in the community is, you blend the fruit instead of using just the juice that is released?
I use both. I use both. Okay. Yeah. I blend the fruit as well. Sometimes I'll discard it depending on how the fruit is looking after the maceration process. But for the most part, especially for my peaches, I'll burr it with the syrup that I created and then put it on heat. And then if it's still a little chunky, I'll run it through the burr mixer again and then just do a double straight, because you don't want to waste anything if the fruit's still doing good. Sorry, I might make that.
And also, the community wants to know, how long can you expect the fresh fruit syrups to last?
So, hi, Doug. Yay. So for me, I found we are kind of a high volume restaurant, so I never really had our syrup hang around too long. But for some of these fresh fruits, I've seen if we keep it refrigerated, I've seen them last for a whole month. We taste test everything every day. So if anything was starting to steer, obviously that goes. But for the most part, I've had pretty good success having them around for about at least like 2 weeks to a month easily.
Right. Yeah. And Doug has another question, which is, have you tried the same method with any vegetables?
Actually, I have not. And that's actually a really fun idea to do. The closest thing I've done to a process similar like this is actually at Camp Runabuck during the alumni, I was helping Bev team make some of Amy Ward's famous tomato water. And that was one of the first processes that I'd seen where instead of using sugar, they used kosher salt with it and made like this beautiful savory kosher salt. But yeah, I figured with almost with like peppers, I think like a steeping method would work better than like any kind of like salting. But yeah, Doug, great question.
That is a really good question because like, especially like the veggies that I would think of like sweet peppers, somehow that.
Like a little piquillo peppers.
Yeah. That would be yummy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I totally ate before doing this, but I'm like, that just made me hungry for some reason.
I know. Yeah. So, no, that's great. So what are we going to do next?
So after you've made your syrup, you can easily go one way. You can keep it as syrup. Once you finish up your maceration process, well, you have all this beautiful syrup coming off these, like, say, my strawberries. And I decided to make a shrub after that. So what we're going to do with that, and if anybody's not familiar with a shrub is a beautiful vinegar-based syrup, essentially. Hails all the way from like the 19th century. I think they were making them already in like the 1800s. And it's a great way of just introducing sugar and vinegar to your fruit. And that actually, if we're still wanting to talk about like shelf stability, that vinegar will keep your syrup or your shrub going all the distance right away. So a lot of people have different ratios that they like to do with shrubs. I tend to stick somewhere between a 1 to 1 to 1 fruit to my sugar to my acid for the most part. But again, with what we're talking about, I let the fruit be the decider on how much sugar and how much vinegar I do. Especially with higher acidic fruits, you'll probably want to choose a vinegar that has a lower acidity. Apple cider vinegar is wonderful, but maybe you're doing something that's not so acidic and you want to add like a little punch to it. Champagne vinegar is great. Also, maybe it's a sweet fruit, but you don't want to add too much sugar. Great news. You have rice wine vinegar that's already has a great acidity to it, but also a sweetness to it as well that can help like bring a little punch to it. That's one of the great things about shrubs. You can use number of different vinegars to customize what you're trying to do, to what fruit you're trying to do, and what you want it to bring to your cocktail.
Right. So while we're talking shrubs, Anthony has a comment or a question about why do they call the orange liqueur a Creole shrub?
That one I'm not sure. I do know the orange liqueur, like an actual orange liqueur. I would call it almost more like an oleosaccharum if I think about it, because what they're using is like the peels as opposed to the actual fruit. That's about as far as I can like think into that question. Of course, if there's anything I can't answer, I love the fact that we might be learning something new together.
Yeah, well, I actually may know a little bit about that because a lot of orange liqueurs, they use Caribbean oranges from Caribbean origin. And a lot of the countries where the oranges come from have that like Creole origin background. So it might be just a name too that they labeled it because of that orange origin. Yeah.
Awesome, Anthony, great question. See, I'm learning too. This is fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I I recently, in doing all my reading on the rum category, I realized that the shrub like dates back for centuries, and was one of the original ways that rum was consumed in a shrub. And so, which shrub? So I am interested to understand, how did that come about? Like, how did shrub come about?
Well, shrub for me, I would have to think because they didn't have refrigeration or really access to keeping anything cold. And again, vinegar is a stabilizing process for that.
Right.
So it's something that can help keep this bottle of delicious soda syrup fresh and ready to go. Obviously, for them, if you're not keeping it refrigerated, it would be good for probably about like a week or two out in your darkest corner in your house, away from sunlight. I feel like that would be like, man, there went my train of thought. It was so
like
cool.
A preserving method.
Yeah, I think for them, it would have to be like out of necessity. You would only have like so many things that you could do with your rum other than just drink it deliciously straight. And for that, I think it was like probably the early first ways of mixology. Maybe you saw in like the Caribbean, like in the there.
Right. Cool. Love it.
Do we have any other questions from the community?
So far, we don't have any other questions, but I do hear that you are thinking about making us a cocktail.
Yeah, I figured because I can only talk and do awkward things with my hands for so long, I thought maybe we could take into account some syrup and some rum.
Oh, lovely. Not just rum, Appleton Estate 8-year-old reserve rum.
Yeah, so I thought going back to what we were talking about, I was going to make you a little pineapple syrup. And because we are a little bit later in the season and talking with you about some of the great notes that was coming out of Appleton, I actually incorporated a little bit of allspice and clove into this pineapple syrup. It was a really easy process for this. I essentially just quartered a pineapple and broke it down into 1-inch chunks. Put it into the oven for about 400 degrees for about like 35 minutes until it started getting to like a really golden brown and bubbly. You saw little brown spots on there. And I just put it into a saucepan with about 2 cups of water, 2.5 cups of sugar. And then I brought it up to a boil and just let it simmer, turned it down to low. And then I just threw in my cloves and my allspice. Again, a really simple, easy recipe. I'm not sure if you can really see it with the lighting in here, but it's like this really beautiful golden color, got great legs to it. The clove and the allspice, you can already get it on the nose.
Yeah, so you don't want the pineapple to caramelize, right? We don't want to get it to that point of caramelize.
I like to get it like a little bit caramelized, like, because again, that's already doing the work for you. It's already releasing all that. And as opposed to like if you were macerating your pineapple, which would have given you like a more clean, spritzy, bright pineapple. This is more like I almost want to say like brulee pineapple. So I think that's with the rum a little.
That's yummy. Yeah, because you've got a lot of spicy fruit notes already in 8-year. So that's a great choice.
Yeah. So I can start whipping this up if you want to tell us a little bit about Appleton rum.
Yeah, sure. So you're concentrating on the 8-year-old, which is a fantastic expression. It's our newest expression, by the way. So everybody that knows Appleton Estate Reserve. So this is our 8-year-old reserve. It is a different liquid from the 8-year. It's right after our signature blend, which I have a couple of bottles here so that we can like look, because there's like some great new packaging going on with Appleton Estate as well. We've done a whole different pack change on the portfolio. And so the expressions are sleek, sexy, just very premium. It's really great. So I wanted to, thank you for highlighting. Brand new label, insignia, everything on the bottle is just brand new. The neck, it's the cork for that premiumization. But the 8-year-old is totally new to the portfolio. And what we did is we basically Joy said, how can I make our master blender, Joy Spence, who initially made reserve for the 250th anniversary, said, how can I make this product better than it was even before? And as we all know, Joy, I mean, she's the master of master blenders when it comes to rums. And so Joy said, I am going to make this an 8-year-old reserve, and we're going to minimize or make less marks in the reserve so that we can highlight and make it more prominent, and let each mark start to show up and do what they do and come out with the lovely notes. And so we've got a minimum of 8 years in this. Every Appleton Estate expression is minimum age. So that little drop, the youngest drop, is the age you see on the bottle. So you're drinking some really lovely rum here. Tropical aged, obviously, in Jamaica. And it's limestone filtered with no added flavor. So that's what allows folks like you, Anna, to add in all of these different flavors and still get that funky note, still get the honey and the vanilla that you're going to find in the 8, your holiday spice, and not to mention, last but not least, the orange peel note, which Appleton Estate is just known for, right? So you got balance here, you got warm oak, you put that with what you're about to make, and it's just fulfilling in a bottle and I'm in a cocktail.
Well, yeah, I'm ready to drink some right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna do just like a really simple spiced pineapple Appleton 8-year daiquiri. We're gonna keep it real simple, keep it classic. We're gonna do 3/4 of our spiced pineapple syrup. We are gonna do just 3/4 of fresh squeezed lime.
Nice.
And we are going to do 2 ounces of our Appleton 8-year.
This is when you know when somebody knows how to make a daiquiri, when they know how to elevate it even more.
Oh my gosh. Like, I know, sorry, also, for everybody watching at home, I just moved into this new house and I can't find half of my bar tools. So please excuse me while I handle my ice so terribly.
We excuse you, Anna. Excuse me. I understand. I just moved in too, so I get it.
Next time we do this, maybe we'll even have artwork up in our walls.
Lovely. So we're just going to shake around.
Oh my gosh, this smell coming out of the tin. I wish you would
say, I wish I could just, when are we going to invent Smellometer or whatever it's called from the Jetsons times?
Oh, right. Oh,
yummy.
Color is beautiful. It's like this perfect gold.
Yeah.
I don't want to rub it into everybody at home, but.
Oh my gosh. I know, right, Anthony? She's just shaking and shaking and shaking in our and rubbing it in our face, this beautiful cocktail. And I can see from here, I can see that, you know, that the color across the cocktail, which looks fantastic. I mean,
it tastes fantastic.
Yeah, it looks enticing. I love that. Any garnishes that you would do with that just to kind of enhance aroma?
Hey, I would probably do, like, if you have a dehydrator at home, dehydrated pineapple would be great. Even maybe if you like sprinkled a little bit of brown sugar on there would be fantastic. Honestly, I might, just like a little note to myself, I might actually retry this syrup and use Demerara sugar instead of like the simple, like, granulated, get like even more like punchiness out of it.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about syrups too, is that you can do different sugars as well. It doesn't have to be white granulated sugar.
Right. Well, we've got a couple of folks that may have joined late. So maybe let's, you know, while we have some time, let's take everybody through how to make shrubs again, just so that they have that understanding. And anybody that wants to take notes, this is the time to do it, because we don't know the next time Anna's going to be on, we might be talking about something else.
I will always talk about shrubs and syrups. So yeah, I do a very simple, for anybody that just joined, hi. I do a very simple ratio when I approach my shrubs. It's just one part fruit to 1 part sugar to 1 part acid. Once you get that down, and of course you can move any of those to the sugar or your acid around, depending on what kind of fruit you're using. Always just like let the fruit control what you're putting into the shrub. So we'll start with that, and then I do a maceration process, and that's really just like leaching out all the goodness that's coming out of the fruit. You're gonna get like this beautiful, I don't know, Leo, if you can bring up that sugar, the strawberry shrub that was in the bowl, so you can see the maceration. Yeah, so that's it right there. And like I said, I let that literally sit for about no more than 20 minutes. And you can just see the syrup that already came off of that. So what we're going to do after that is strain off the syrup and put it into a saucepan. That goes over, you don't want to bring it up to like a simmer. And usually like let it sit for about 20. You want it to like reduce down about by a third is what you're looking for. And then once you get it down and reduced, pull it off the heat, and then you can incorporate your vinegar into that. I always get really good yield because honestly, if you use the ripest fruit you can get, you're going to get a great yield from any of your syrups or your shrubs. And that's really the important part, because if your fruit's not ripe, you're not going to get what you're looking for. You're not going to get your color. You're not going to get your flavor. And it's just going to taste like a LaCroix. Like the flavor's there, but it's like it's in the other room kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and the other thing.
No disrespect to LaCroix, of course. I'm sorry.
While you were going through and we were looking at the pictures, in my mind, I was thinking, ooh, what happens if someone scorches? Like, are you literally going to have to start from scratch, or is there a way to like save it?
Unfortunately, when you burn sugar or when you scorch that, it's kind of done. That's usually, you want to keep it low. You want to bring it up to a simmer and then take it back down. Just to where it's just like barely rolling, because you just want it to reduce. You don't really want it to, per se, like to cook it more. You're just looking for a reduction, essentially.
Right. No.
And I know that there's like many different ways to do shrubs. If anybody's got like another, man, my train of thought went right out the station again. Anybody has like another method, but that's generally for me, that's again, great for work at home and for work at your bar. It's just a very easy, simple, no fuss, no muss. It's really hard to muck it up, honestly. I muck up all the time.
And how long do the syrups last? Like how long can you keep them refrigerated?
For like I said, we've kept our raspberry syrup on for easily almost a month, and we kept it refrigerated. Like I said, you'll probably see like a little separation, like the color. If you just whisk it and emulsify it again, yeah,
it's still
going right, actually.
Got it. Okay. And anything else you want to add in terms of methods or tips to keep in mind?
I always want to say, when it comes to your sugar, you can always start with a little and you can add more. If you add too much, you're going to have to do more work to do. So like start with a little, and if you notice like it's releasing, like your fruit's releasing a lot of juice, you can go ahead and just give it a little sprinkle more and try to get a little more. Like the more work that you do in the maceration of the bowl, the less work you have to do on your stovetop, honestly.
Right.
That's what I look for. And also with your shrubs, you don't have to go ahead and do the 1-to-1-to-1 right away. If it's your first time doing your shrub, do a little bit of vinegar at first. See how you like the taste. For some cocktails, I like to have like a really nice punchy tang to it, and I'll add more vinegar than I would for like a normal shrub. Sometimes, again, some fruit is already very acidic, and so you want to like make sure you're looking at your pH level for whatever vinegar that you're using, and use a little, add more. There's always like that.
So I can use easily red wine vinegar because, like, I have some red wine vinegar here, and I'm looking at, what can I make, with that?
I mean, strawberries are great with that. Any kind of red fruit would be great with that. The only thing with red wine vinegar is it tends to be like a little sharp. That's the only thing. But also, if you happen to have like a little bit of balsamic vinegar with strawberries, already a classic. That's a great suggestion right there. I also like doing a lot of work with like champagne vinegar. That adds a really nice little zip too, and kind of almost gives it like. You ever have something that's like pickled and it kind of gives you like a little goosebump on the back of your neck, but kind of like refreshing? That's what champagne vinegar does for my shrubs. It's just nice, tantalizing.
Jeff Terry mentioned about a simple caramel, and he mentioned about just actually a burnt simple sugar. And talking.
Jeff, great idea. Yeah,
that sounds even more yummy too. Definitely.
Yeah, great idea, Jeff. Also, I love you and I miss you.
Yeah. Anthony, you can't find white vinegar? Oh my gosh, COVID. That's one of the things you wouldn't expect not to be able to find, right?
I imagine people are using it for like disinfecting probably a lot. Oh, that's a smelly household.
Yeah, the white rum is being used for hand sanitizer, but that's a whole nother topic. Let's not go there. But no, this was great, Anna. It was something new for somebody like me who's a newbie. I'm adding this into my arsenal, my toolkit now. I'm going to try some things. Look out for me to like DM you crazy pictures on some things that I'm trying.
Love it. I love it.
Because I'm like doing Jamaican flavors, Jamaican fruits like jackfruit, Caribbean pomsite, pomegranate, and things like that. And I'm going to try those. To see
fantastic. Yeah. Especially
soursop. Yeah. Let's see what that draws out of it, because Caribbean, we soak fruits and we soak those things in rum and things like that, but like to do it in vinegar and sugar and actually draw it a bit more, and I'm gonna try that, and I'll let you know how that works.
Yeah, and also like if you're working on your shrub, there's no shame in adding like a little bit of juice of whatever you're working on, especially with pomegranates. Just a little bit of pomegranate juice in your shrub will take it just to another step, and you'll really get that powerful flavor through.
Lovely. Well, I'm going to try it and I'll let you know how it works. But this was fantastic. Anybody else have any other questions before we head on out? Please feel free to put it in the chat. Leo, yes, you keep buying drinking vinegar. He wants to know if he's a sucker.
I mean, no, Leo, no. I would definitely not call you a sucker, but this is a great way to show you that you can make your own drinking vinegars at home. And also, again, like shrubs don't have to go with booze. They go great with tonic water, with seltzer. I mean, I kept a cantaloupe shrub in my fridge all summer long, and I was doing that with Topo Chico in the mornings, and that was fantastic.
Right. Yeah, I got some Indian tonic water that I've been experimenting with some flavors. So yeah, I'll try that.
Ooh, that's delightful.
Allison says hello. Allison, thank you. I hope you guys really enjoyed today. Thank you, Allison Wong, for joining us. Thank you everybody that joined us today. This was really great. Again, Anna, I really appreciate it. Congratulations on your move. Stay safe. To everyone that joined us. Again, it was a pleasure. If you want to see more about the distance learning classes, Leo wants to know, how do you get in touch with you if anybody has more questions? So I'm going to highlight that in a bit. If you want to know more about Portland Cocktail Week and the distance learning classes that they have available, follow them on Facebook. There's new classes on the weekdays. And there's also the archive that they have for their past classes for anybody who's missed anything. You can also check them out on Instagram. I'll put up that Instagram link so everybody knows where to find you guys. There's a great place to find out what's coming up next for Portland Cocktail Week. I follow it religiously, so definitely check them out there. And they're also going to be posting the videos on YouTube for you to go back and check it out again if there's anything that you missed or something that you want to kind of revisit over in time. And of course, because I'm part of the Campari community, you guys feel free to follow us at Campari Community on IG. Follow me. I'm at rum underscores. It's right there on the screen. You see it. And of course, follow Anna. Check her out on Instagram. Anna Greek 83. I follow you. And anything else, everybody, please feel free to shoot us a DM, a message. Everyone stay safe. Anna, stay safe.
Monique, you stay safe. Let's get those boxes unpacked.
That's right, girl. Come and help me and I'll come and help you.
Bring the rum. Bring the rum and I'm there.
I'll bring the rum. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for my brands at Appleton Estate USA. I really appreciate this again. And this was fantastic. And bye, everybody.
Hi, guys. Thanks.